channel. But this isn't even necessarily the fault of Caitlin Collins here, the moderator or the host. This is just the fault of CNN having this event at all. Because of how much Trump lies in just, a single sentence, it's impossible for anybody to on the fly stop and address each of those lies, especially in a format like this where you have an hour, you have to address all of these different topics. Caitlin Collins isn't going to sit there for 20 minutes, trying to go through each and every single lie. It's just, it's not, it doesn't make sense for television. It wouldn't make sense for this format. That's why you don't have this. There is no reason to platform him because you know what he does. How many years do we have to be familiar with Trump and what he does to understand that you can't just give this guy a free platform like this? Now, Mehdi Hassan actually has a really good breakdown. Before I get to any of the reactions from one CNN employee, Mehdi Hassan has a good reaction here on MSNBC, writing, the former president, as I point out in my book, Win Every Argument, The Art of Debating, Persuading, and Public Speaking, is a master of the Gish Gallop. He specializes in overwhelming interviewers with a relentless barrage of falsehoods and drowning them in a deluge of distortions, deflections, and distractions, which is why it is impossible for any host, any moderator to address all of the lies that he spouts. But here are some other lies that Trump spouted without any pushback. When Trump falsely denied he had suggested terminating parts of the Constitution, Collins didn't correct him. When Trump falsely claimed Democrats wanted to execute babies, Collins didn't correct him. When Trump falsely claimed he finished building his border wall, Collins tried to correct him, but he just talked over her. And when Trump made a racist remark about Chinatown, Collins said nothing whatsoever, nor did she defend herself when he called her a nasty person. Sorry, but as predicted, this was a clear win for Trump. He felt no pressure and conceded nothing. He was welcomed onto CNN to address an audience of non-Republicans watching at home and an audience of loyal Republicans sitting in that hall in New Hampshire. Win-win. Now, you may wonder, what impact does this really have? And that's a fair question, because a lot of people already know Trump is a liar, are maybe just watching this because they want to see this car wreck. And others who already support him, their minds are just going to stay where they are. So does this really move anybody? It's impossible to say. But the thing with CNN, because it is such a mainstream network, a mainstream platform, there are a lot of people that watch CNN who don't know a lot of what is going on. CNN plays in airports. So it catches the casual viewer who may think Trump appeared likable here. I mean, you heard the audience. One of the big standouts for me was how stacked this audience was with Republican voters. So the audience was supposed to be Republican voters or Trump voters and so-called independents. It sure sounded like if those independents were there, they were definitely Trump-leaning independents, because there was no booze, there was no negative reaction at all to anything Trump said. All of the lies he spouted, there was no negative reaction to any of it. So a viewer watching at home, hearing the audience laughing, applauding all of his bullshit, all of his lies, that audience gets the impression in that moment that, hey, Trump is likable. Hey, this guy is telling the truth. So even if, you watching this understand that Trump is just a complete pathological liar, that doesn't mean the average apolitical person understands that, who may just be catching CNN at an airport. So that is why, this is essentially an hour of free media. This is how CNN helped to elevate Trump in 2016, giving him an open platform, airing all of his rallies without any criticism, any pushback at all, and that helped to elevate his candidacy. Now, there is some off-the-record reactions from CNN employees to this town hall. Justin Baragona here of the Daily Beast says here, immediate reaction from a CNN on-air personality to me just now on this Trump town hall. Quote, "It is so bad. I was cautiously optimistic despite the criticism. It is awful. It's a Trump infomercial. We're going to get crushed." Another CNN employee reaction. A staffer reacts following the end of the Trump town hall. Quote, "One of the worst hours I've ever seen on our air." So, of course, you're going to see very few CNN employees publicly say any of this because they're afraid of repercussions. But there was one, which I'll get to in just a second. I just want to respond to some of these CNN staffers who were surprised by this. Juniper tweeted out, "All these tweets from CNN people are confusing to me. We have known Trump politically for 7 years. How did you not know he would do precisely the thing he did the last 7 years?" And that's what I said earlier. How did you not know this was coming? This is clearly what Trump was going to do, and he did it, and he was successful in doing it. Now, CNN's media analyst, their media critic, Oliver Darcy here, did come out and criticize CNN. So he has a long piece here on it, Trump at the town hall. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but I'll just give you, the top line here. "It's hard to see how America was served by the spectacle of lies that aired on CNN Wednesday evening." And he goes deeper into it. He does defend Caitlin Collins, as I would expect him to, but he essentially criticizes the idea of having him in this town hall at all because he just, as he writes, Trump frequently ignored or spoke over Collins throughout the evening as he unleashed a fire hose of disinformation upon the country. So it's just, there was no benefit for CNN to do this, and it's good to see. The media critic is the one person that's maybe allowed to voice this opinion because it is their job to be critical of the media. But you're not going to see many other CNN employees come out and criticize the platforming of Trump's BS here. There was also people who thought this was a good idea and realized when it happened that it wasn't. Again, going to the point that how did you not know this was a terrible idea? But this piece here, CNN's Trump town hall turns into a Trump rally. So it was written by Tom Jones. This is another media critic. He writes here, "To be clear, I supported CNN's choice to have Trump on the air. He's the former president and the leading candidate to be the Republican nominee for president in 2024. If a legitimate news network can't ask him tough questions, who will? I wrote that CNN absolutely should have him on its air. But the critics were right. This turned out even worse than what I thought a worst case scenario would be. When you have someone who doesn't play by the rules of truthfulness and honesty and fully answering questions, there is no chance for accountability or productive conversation." Again, look, I'm glad these people are admitting this was a terrible idea, but how did you think this was a good idea? Especially if you are a media critic. This is your job. You didn't realize that this is what Trump has done his entire life? It took this town hall for you to realize this? Now let me get to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, her reaction when she was on MSNBC last night.
I know you said earlier that you will not comment on the platforming of such atrocious disinformation, but I would. I think it was a profoundly irresponsible decision. I don't think that I would be doing my job if I did not say that.
So AOC's comments there mirrors a lot of what we're hearing from a lot of lawmakers, at least ones that have reacted to this town hall. And, I wonder what the reaction should be from lawmakers like AOC and even pundits in terms of CNN cares about access. So they will continue doing garbage like this. In fact, before I make my point, they did it again this morning. CNN follows up the Trump town hall by interviewing GOP Representative Brian Mast, an election denier who pushes the big lie with impunity during his interview. So following this interview or following the town hall, they brought in another guy who denied the election. So the reaction, there's a couple ways that Democrats and others that are on CNN can react to this. Because CNN cares about access, Democrats should maybe consider withholding their access, threatening to not appear on CNN if they continue platforming election deniers. I mean, that is a potential, I think, and I think would be successful because there's not that many election deniers, at least in terms of lawmakers that are publicly discussing this stuff still. So it's not hard to just deny them a platform. But then you may think, and I think it's fair to wonder, is it worth risking that? Is it worth then not accessing that massive CNN audience? Because ultimately, who are you hurting? You're potentially just hurting the audience that is no longer seeing that other perspective. But regardless, they're not going to do that. So, this idea of withholding their appearances on CNN, it's a nice idea. It's not something that I think any of them are really going to go through with.